Good of Shabbos, everyone. Welcome to this special segment known as For the Shabbos Table, made possible by a grant from the Rubin family, who is sponsoring the Shir with the Tefillah to Hashem for a Ben Zachar, and also for Hatzlacha in Ruchnius and in Gashmius. Today we have a special edition of the For the Shabbos Table because I'm giving it on the Pirkay Avos of this week, which is the 4th chapter of Pirkay Avos. And in it, we start with the incredibly profound Mishnah Aleph of Ben Zayma. Ben Zayma, we know that he is known as a great darshan. We all know him from the Haggadah, where it says that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, who was appointed Nasi, he said, Ariani keben Shimon Shana, I had a miracle. V'loise chisi shetayamar yitzias Mitzrayim baleilos, and yet I didn't merit to prove that you should say about Egypt, not just in the day, but nightly as well. Ad shedarsha Ben Zayma. So Ben Zayma was the great darshan. And here, Ben Zayma extrapolates from Psukim the true meaning of 4 of life's great pursuits. And they are wisdom, and they are might, they are wealth, and they are honor. So these are 4 of life's primary pursuits. And Ben Zayma says, let's see what they really consist of. And one thing that Ben Zayma does is he explodes a myth. And that is when we think about these traits, these enviable traits, generally if you would ask most people, they would tell you that they are certainly not attainable to everyone. For example, might. The person says, might? I'm a weakling. I can't even pick up, a 20-pound bag of potatoes, might. Look, not everybody can do everything, and I'm certainly not mighty. Another person says, wealth? Wealth? Well, not in this lifetime. I mean, every week I'm just scraping by, and at the end of the month I still have bills piled up that I didn't pay. Wealth's not for me. And then we come to glory. Glory? People hear my name, they snicker. Glory? Honor? Honor? People turn to me and they laugh. Nobody respects me. And wisdom? Wisdom's not for me, There were 10 kids in my class. That's the only reason why I was from the top 10. Wisdom. I barely pass a test. I can't figure out those math problems. And as soon as the Rebbe starts, giving a chakira, I lose him. Wisdom. And, I can't remember something that I learned today. I can't even remember it next week. Wisdom. I was absent that day when they were giving out wisdom. So Ben Zayma says that this is a great error. All 4 of these attributes are attainable by everyone. Everyone. And Ben Zayma also says that the definition of society for these things is completely wrong. A mighty person depicted as Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson, a wealthy person depicted as Baron Rothschild and Sir Moses Montefiore, and a wise person thinking of the Ragachover, and an honored person, somebody that, gets all the accolades and is honored at dinners and have powerful positions. That's not the Torah definition. And as we look at awe in Ben Zoma, as he extrapolates this from Psukim, we find that it's really not what we thought. I mean, take, for example, what he starts with, Ezel Chacham, who's wise. So, it's always good when you're learning Pirkay Avos to think, what would you have said first? And if and then when the Tana says differently, then you could correct your mindset, because this is not just a theory of great people. Right? We know from the beginning of this Masechta, it says Moshe Kibbel Torah Mesinai, that this is divine wisdom. This is the absolute truth. So what's a Chacham? We would have said a Chacham is one who amassed a great deal of knowledge, absorbed it, and is able to share it with people, and knows what to do in every situation. That's a Chacham. But Ben Zoma says, I'll tell you what a Chacham is. A Chacham is a person who can learn from everyone. Haloi mikol adam. Let's think about in the Haggadah Shel Pesach when we talk about the Arba Banim. So Chacham Mo'aimer, what does the Chacham say? Ma'edus v'achukim v'mishpatim. What are the testimonials, the statutes, the laws? If he was such a Chacham, he should have known them already. But the child that's a Chacham is the person who is constantly learning. It is a person who says, I want to know how to behave in every experience in life, and therefore I'm going to look around and I'm going to see who's good at this and who's good at that, and I'm going to take note. That's a Chacham. Now, this business of being loimeid mikol adam is a very difficult business. Most people can't do it. Most people, when they see somebody come into shul with a big grease stain in the middle of their shirt untucked in, and maybe even having a little bad breath, they turn their nose, they avert their gaze and say, what could you learn from someone like him? But you know something? If you would have looked a little further, you would have seen that that person has a little stack of dollars next to him, and it's ready. As soon as a poor person comes, he doesn't wait for the poor person to ask, but he sticks out his hand, and it says, why is the Gimel Dal, stands for Gimel Dalim, why does the Gimel have its leg towards the Dalit? That he's ready to give even before he asks. If he would look further, he would say, this is the way this man acts. Or another example is an angry person. You see a guy, he flies into anger. And what can you learn from a nut like that? But generally, an angry person is a passionate person. Sometimes the angry person really davens well with a lot of concentration. A person has to be able to learn and to see the good. What does it say? He has trained himself to see the good in people. Those are the people that don't speak Lashon Hara, because they focus on the good. But that's the idea that we could learn. Mikol Adam. We look around. This one keeps his children next to him during davening. This one answers a beautiful Amen. This one, you see him outside in the shul, go out and greet his wife with warmth. You could learn something from everyone. But it says, Haloi mikol adam, from all people. From all people? What could you learn from a Rasha? So the first and simple answer is you could learn from a Rasha what not to do. It's a very big thing. You know, if you're in the street and you see somebody yelling at his wife, it looks so disgusting. It looks so ugly that you could say to yourself, I hope I never do that. You see somebody who, during davening, while he's davening, he's looking around while he's davening Shemona Esrei. You say, wow, look, that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. You gotta say, and when I am in Shemona Esrei and I'm daydreaming about everything else, that's not embarrassment. We don't see our own nigam, but when we see it in other people, then we could reflect back upon ourselves, you know. That's not good. Of course, there are those that say that we could learn from a Rasha about the excitement he has when he does his foolish things, the youthful excitement. And we say, you know, I need that excitement when I learn a piece of Gemara. I want to go on because I want to finish this remarkable Mishnah. It says, Eizo Gibar, who is mighty? So again, might is not, you know, bulging biceps and, you know, six-pack torso. No, that's not what might is. Animals have that kind of might. So then Zayma tells us, Eizo Gibar HaKovesh es Yitzray, one who has the might to conquer his temptations. Now, the first thing the Ben Zayma says is, it doesn't say HaKovesh es HaYetzer. It says HaKovesh es Yitzray. You're mighty if you conquer your temptations. No, somebody says, well, I never talk in shul. Yeah, but you don't have a desire to talk in shul. You think it's stupid to come to shul and waste your time talking. That's not your temptation. That's not your yitzrah. But maybe you're tempted to scroll down your phone and look at some of the pretty women there. That's your yetzer. Or maybe your yetzer is pulling that money out of your wallet and giving it away, or writing out a big check. That might be your yetzer. Or your yetzer might be not to answer back in kind to your spouse. Right? But that's HaKovesh es Yitzray. And, you know, it's interesting that one of Hashem's names is Aleph Lamed, El, which means Almighty. It means strength. Micha Moicha Be'elam. Isn't it interesting that El, no matter which way it's written, backward or forwards, it's either Al or Loy. It means no. Because might is the ability to say no to temptation. That's might. Somebody, you have a really juicy piece of Lashon Hara. I mean a really juicy piece of Lashon Hara. And you hold back and you don't say it. Oh, it's bubbling out of you. That's might. And you know, it's interesting. We make a bracha every morning. Ozer Yisrael b'gvura. He girds Yisrael with might. Now, we know that in many of the brachas we don't say Yisrael, because it's true for Goyim too. Like, for example, Pirkay Ivrim. He opens up the blind in the morning. We couldn't see in the night. In the morning he opens our eyes. So that's true by Goyim too. So we don't say Pirkay Ivrei Yisrael. Yeah, so like Oite Yisrael b'Sefara, which refers to either the tefillin that we wear or the head covering that we wear. So that's why we say Yisrael. But Oizer Yisrael b'Gvura, and what's Oizer? Gird. Gird is a reference to a belt because either the holster is on the belt or the scabbard that contains the sword is on the belt. But that's not unique to Yisrael. To the contrary, Koko Yaakov Yadayim Yedei Esav. So why do we say Oize Yisrael B'Gvura? And the answer is because we're talking about the Gevura of Kovesh Es Yitzray. And here we thank Hashem for the Siyata D'Shmaya. Because it says, Yitzray Shalom Miskaber Olav B'chol Yom Umavakesh Lamisay. The Yitzhar prevails on us every day, wants to kill us. And if Hashem didn't help, we wouldn't be able to prevail. So here we thank Hashem for being Oizer Yisrael B'Gvur. He's girding us, He's helping us in the battle against the Yetzer Hara. So you'll say, what does it have to do with the belt? Because the belt is mafsik bein halev la'erva. So that signifies Hashem helping us in the battle against immorality and looking at the wrong things and hearing the wrong things, etc. Now, the next one, and again, you see that this kind of might is attainable to everyone. The next one is probably the most difficult definition. Ezel Usher, who is wealthy. So wealth, says Ben Zayma, is not about assets. It's not about acquisitions. It's not about bank accounts. It's not about money market funds. It's not about real estate. It's not about earning power. It's an attitude. Ezel Osher hasameach bechalkai. Who is wealthy? One who is happy with his lot. As the great Reb Noach Weinberg said, if you're not happy with what you have, you'll never be happy with what you're going to get. Because you'll get used to that too. It's like the game you buy for a child. It's exciting for a week, and then it goes into the closet for the grandchildren. If you're not happy with what you have, you won't be happy with what you're going to get because you're going to get used to that too. And the truth of the matter is that wealth is actually a quicksand. Because it says, somebody has 100, he wants 200. And it just keeps on getting worse, not better. Because it says, a person doesn't die having fulfilled half of his desires. So if he has 100, he wants 200. But if he has 1,000, he wants 2,000. But if he has 100,000, he wants 200,000. If he has 1,000,000, he wants 2,000,000. If he has 10 million, he wants 20 million. So instead of getting better, it gets further away. It's a very good reason why matbeya, a coin, is tova, to drown. Because we're drowning. It's the more we get, the further we are. So therefore, it's not a question of getting things, but it's a question of attitude, to learn to be happy with what we have. And that's why they say a beautiful thing, that besimcha is the same letters as machshava. Because being in simcha is an attitude. And of course, it's the attitude of, there's a saying we all know, that you should see the cup half full and not half empty. And half full, stress what you have, and not half empty, what you're missing. But there's a beautiful vignette that one of Rav Miller's grandchildren showed him a half full glass, and he says, Zaidi, is the cup half full or half empty? She knew what was coming, but she didn't. He says, what do you mean? That cup is full. So she looked, she said, no, Zaidi, it's only half full. He says, no, half is with water and half is with oxygen, with air. Whoa, we'd be without beautiful air. So it means to stress on what we have. Or like they say, Osher stands for Einayim, Shinayim, Yodayim, Raglayim. Eyes, teeth, feet, hands. If a person realizes these gifts the person that doesn't have teeth and has to wear dentures. I heard from somebody whose hands were paralyzed, and a mosquito landed on his forehead and started walking towards his eyes, and he couldn't brush it off. It's very frightening. Ramila would say that if you want to appreciate life, just go and spend a day in the hospital and look around. Go to a place where people have to have dialysis every 3 days. Go to a place where people can't get out of a chair. I once visited a man in the hospital who was very ill, and he looked at me and he said to me, Rabbi Weiss, I only want one thing. I wish I could spend one Shabbos at home before I die. He never got that chance. You hear that, you really appreciate a Shabbos at home, Shabbos with family. So Ashiris is learning to appreciate all that we have. And the more we could look at that, the more happy we will be. And finally, Ben Zaymis says, Eizel Mechubed. Now this is really the biggest chiddush maybe of them all. Eizel Mechubed, who is honored. Now, what would we say, who is honored? Well, we would say the honored person is a person that lives the straight and narrow. You know, that walks the walk, not just talks the talk. Right? Like Rebbe said, he's Tiferes lo seh and Tiferes lo min ha'adam. He has splendor from his creator and from people. That's an honored person. So first of all, that might not be attainable to everybody. But even more, we live in a very cynical world. And people see him and say, you look at that guy. Yeah, he says, yeah, look at that guy. Do you know how he behaves at home? Remember we said that. Don't judge a person until you get to their home. People behave differently in their own home when nobody's looking. And today, especially with our let's put it this way, our not so praiseworthy leaders, I'm talking about in the secular world, people are very cynical of people. But there's one thing that they're not cynical about. If you give a person a compliment, I've been watching you. It's really, really wonderful how you have your children sit with you and you spend time with them and you bring them books and you have candy in your stender and you're not just wrapped up in your own world, you're really, the person that hears that is not cynical. He says, thank you. I see you know how to appreciate a good thing. When people say nice things to you, you take it at face value. And it's reciprocated. Remember what we say, the person in front of you is really like a mirror. What you give them will come back. And this is extremely true when it comes to kavod. If you treat people respectfully, if you treat people with honor, that's the way they'll treat you. And by the way, how important is this for marriage? Everybody wants respect from their spouse. Well, give your spouse respect. When your spouse talks, don't cut them off before they finish. Give them the respect. Show them that you take what they say respectfully. And you'll be treated in kind. That Ben Zayma says, and that again, this attitude is attainable to everyone. I think this was a very important talk. Should listen to it again and try to put these ideas in use. We want to thank the Rubin family for making it possible. and remind you, if you would like to sponsor the main shir on Pirkay next week, 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. If you're listening to this yet before Shabbos, you can shave now, since Lag BaOmer is on Sunday. And let me wish you all a very sweet and wonderful Shabbos.